you said this morning that you probably won't be running for a third term. This weekend, Secretary of State Rubio said that he thought JD Vance would be a great nominee. You could clear the entire Republican field right now. Do you agree that the heir apparent to MAGA is JD Vance?
Well, I think most likely, in all fairness, he's the vice president. I think Marco is also somebody that maybe would get together with JD in some form. I also think we have incredible people, some of the people on the stage right here. So it's too early, obviously, to talk about it, but certainly he's doing a great job, and he would be probably favored at this point.
And so I want people to see him and understand who he is. This is a person that has a problem with people of color. Period. I don't care how many black MAGA out there with their hats. I want to be clear, when we look at who it is that he's kicking out of this country as people of color, when we look at who he always disrespects and says that they are low IQ, even though when you look at his cabinet, this has to be the most incompetent cabinet we have ever had in the history of this country. When we're talking about people that literally have the ability to drop bombs or order that bombs be dropped or make recommendations that bombs be dropped, and they literally don't know how to get the signal chat right. So we're talking about low IQ individuals, but so long as they say that this guy is their guy, and usually if they work for a certain news network, that's the only qualification that's necessary. I've got news for the president. I am not going anywhere. No matter how many squiggly lines they draw in the state of Texas, I will be back, and I will be on his behind and making sure the real accountability that the American people are demanding, whether they're Democrats, Republicans, or independents, that it is had when the Democrats take control of this House in the midterm.
Congressman. And as you know, that means that there is other legislation that's going to be the victim of that. And that includes this bill for flood assistance for those Texans who were impacted by those devastating floods on July 4th. Are you concerned that all of this could ultimately be a mistake if that legislation also becomes a victim of this?
This is a Republican talking point. I'm concerned that Greg Abbott decided to play politics with flood victims, and they refused.
But the reality is, Representative, the reality is the consequence of the decision, regardless of whether or not it's a talking point, is that this bill is not going to advance. Is that a bad thing if this bill doesn't advance?
And who put flood mitigation after redistricting on the agenda?
The Republicans. They control the floor.
Exactly.
They have made that decision. Exactly. But there will be consequences to your decision here, too. Will there not?
And you know why they did that is so that they could play politics with those flood victims, so that they could pressure us to give away our constituents' voices in the democratic process. They're using flood victims to try to get us to agree to these corrupt maps so they can rig the next election. We are not willing to sacrifice the American experiment. We begged them to prioritize flood victims, and they refused to do so. This is cynical politics at its worst.